In the dusty heart of Texas 1887, a poor widow and her young daughter walked into town wearing the only dress they could afford. What happened next left the little girl humiliated as people laughed at her worn-out clothes. But they didn't know that a wealthy cowboy was listening. He could have ignored the cruelty, but instead he made a decision that would silence the entire town and change the widow's life forever. If you enjoy emotional Old West stories filled with kindness, courage, and unexpected twists, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more unforgettable frontier stories. Now, let's get started. In the small town of Red Willow, Texas, in the summer of 1887, 12-year-old Clara Bell walked beside her mother through the dusty streets toward the general store. Clara wore the only dress she owned, a faded brown cotton dress that had once belonged to an older cousin. Martha had repaired it so many times that the stitches showed like tiny scars across the sleeves and waist. The hem had become too short, but there was no money for another. Martha was a widow, and every penny she earned cleaning houses went toward keeping food on their table. When they entered the store, several well-dressed women noticed Clara's clothing. One whispered something to another, and soon a few men near the counter began laughing. "Looks like that dress has seen better days," one of them joked. Clara's cheeks turned red. She looked down at her worn shoes and wished she could disappear. Martha gently placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder, but she could not hide the pain in her eyes. Then the store doors opened. Everett Hayes, the wealthiest rancher in the county, stepped inside. His boots were covered with trail dust, and his dark hat cast a shadow over his serious face. He had come to purchase supplies for his ranch, but the laughter caught his attention. Everett slowly looked toward Clara. He saw the torn sleeve, the patched hem, and most importantly, the tears she was desperately trying to hide. He turned toward the people laughing. The room became strangely quiet. Everett walked to the counter and placed a heavy leather pouch beside the register. "How much would it cost," he asked calmly, "to dress this child properly?" No one laughed now. The storekeeper stared at him, unsure what to say. Everett looked at Clara again and added, "Not because she should impress anyone, but because she deserves to walk through this town without being ashamed." Clara finally lifted her eyes, and for the first time that day, someone had made her feel seen. The following morning, Clara woke before sunrise to the sound of wagon wheels outside their little farmhouse. She hurried to the window and saw Everett Hayes standing beside a sturdy wagon loaded with groceries, bolts of fine cloth, new shoes, and several boxes. Martha stepped onto the porch, confused by the unexpected visitor. Everett removed his hat and greeted her politely. "Mrs. Bell, I hope you won't think this is charity meant to embarrass you," he said. "Your daughter deserves a chance to smile without worrying about what people say." Martha's eyes filled with tears as she thanked him. Everett then revealed that he had already arranged for the town's best dressmaker to make Clara 2 new dresses. But his kindness did not end there. He handed Martha a folded document. "There's a small house near my eastern pasture," he explained. "The previous owner left town, and I've purchased it for you. You can live there without paying rent." Martha stared at the deed, speechless. She had spent years fearing that one unpaid bill would leave her and Clara homeless. Before she could respond, voices sounded from the road. Several townspeople had followed the wagon, curious about what the wealthy rancher was doing. Everett stepped onto the porch and faced them. Among the crowd were the same people who had laughed at Clara the day before. He calmly said, "Yesterday, you laughed because this little girl wore an old dress. Today, I want you to remember something. A person's worth isn't stitched into their clothing." The crowd fell silent. Clara stood beside her mother wearing her new blue dress, holding back tears of happiness. Everett knelt beside her and said, "Never let anyone convince you that being poor makes you less deserving of kindness." Clara smiled and nodded. From that day forward, the townspeople treated the Bells differently. But Everett never spoke about what he had done. He simply returned to his ranch, believing that true wealth was measured not by what a man owned, but by what he was willing to give.